When did disobeying your parents literally save your life? Before we begin, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I promise you, this one is worth it. My best friend stole my baby name, not just any name, the one. The name I had whispered to my mother on her deathbed. The name she said she wished she could have used for another daughter. The name she would have passed down to me if she had lived long enough. Celeste. Heavenly. Sacred. Mine. She knew all of this, and she took it anyway. But when Jenna stole my baby name, I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I didn't even cry. I just took something of hers too, something she never expected to lose. Her daughter's inheritance. The day Jenna announced she was naming her daughter Celeste, we were sitting at her baby shower. The air smelled like vanilla candles and fresh buttercream. Everyone was smiling, laughing, taking pictures in front of the floral arch she had ordered specifically for Instagram. Then she said it. I know you mentioned Celeste years ago, but Ryan and I just fell in love with it. My world tilted. She said it so casually, like she was confessing she'd borrowed my favorite sweater. Like it wasn't a name drenched in meaning. Like I hadn't told her that name the night my mother died, sitting in my childhood kitchen with tear-soaked cheeks and shaking hands, trying to hold on to something. Anything. Sacred. You understand, right? You're not even pregnant yet, she added, smiling sweetly like she was doing me a favor. I stared at her. Then at the handmade quilt sitting in my lap. Navy blue with a constellation pattern, stitched over countless nights, every seam tied to a hope. I had made it for my Celeste, my future daughter, not hers. Around us, the other guests shifted uncomfortably. They all knew how close we were, how close we used to be. They also knew I had been trying to conceive for 3 years. Unexplained infertility, the doctors said. I had failed at something that seemed so easy for everyone else, even Jenna, who got pregnant 2 months after she decided she was ready. So what could I do? Speak up? Demand the name back like someone demanding their seat at a cafe? I just smiled through the burning ache in my chest. Of course, I said. It's a beautiful name. 2 months later, she posted the first photo. Welcome to the world, our little star Celeste. A week later, it was a picture of the nursery. Deep blue walls with hand-painted constellations. A mobile of tiny golden stars spinning above the crib. The caption, Heavenly Girl, Celeste. My stomach twisted. That celestial theme? It was my dream nursery. I had described it to Jenna the night I first mentioned the name, back when we were 2 girls sharing future fantasies, not one woman stealing another woman's heart. She didn't just take the name, she took everything. The meaning, the vision, the symbol of my mother. She didn't even bother to change the tone. Every caption, every post, every story. It was like she was playing me in a version of my own life. It was theft. Quiet, elegant, devastating theft. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was how much it hurt that she wasn't sorry. How she expected me to just swallow it and move on. Like my loss was nothing compared to her gain. And for a while, I did. Until I didn't. Because 2 months after Celeste was born, I finally got my positive test. And that was when everything changed. I didn't tell Jenna I was pregnant. Not when the test flashed 2 lines. Not during the cautiously hopeful first trimester. Not when the morning sickness eased and my belly started to curve. By then, her daughter Celeste was almost 4 months old. Her Instagram still revolved around moon and stars captions and perfectly curated bedtime reels. Our little galaxy girl. Moonlight kisses with my Celeste. You are my heaven on earth. Every post hurt in a way I didn't have words for. So instead of announcing my pregnancy to her, like she had done to everyone in the world, I went quiet. I stayed off her radar. I let her texts pile up unanswered. Hey, everything okay? Are you mad at me? Can we talk? Please don't be weird. I felt like a ghost, floating through someone else's dream. But one thing kept me grounded. The tiny heartbeat inside me. The baby I had fought for. My miracle. My redemption. At our 20-week ultrasound, when the tech quietly smiled and said, It's a girl, I closed my eyes. And for a moment, everything felt right again. Dean squeezed my hand. What about Eleanor? He suggested. After your grandmother? I nodded. Maybe. But in truth, my mind was somewhere else entirely. Somewhere painful. Somewhere defiant. Not Celeste. That name no longer belonged to me. Jenna had made sure of that. 2 weeks later, I ran into Jenna's mother-in-law in the grocery store. Diane. We'd seen each other at showers, birthdays, family gatherings. She was elegant, sharp-featured, always wearing perfectly pressed shirts and pearl earrings. "Oh," I said. "Mrs. Diane, right?" She nodded politely, but her eyes looked tired, stressed. "How's Jenna?" I asked, already knowing I didn't want the answer. She hesitated. "She's fine, though." Her voice tightened. "I'll never understand why she refused to use my mother's name." I paused. "Her mother's—" "Margaret Rose," she said, with the kind of reverence people reserve for saints and sacred things. "It's been the firstborn daughter's name in Ryan's family for 3 generations. 3, she emphasized, and Jenna just threw it away." I blinked. "Jenna said she didn't like it," I said quietly. Diane sighed. "She called it outdated. Old lady-ish." Her voice cracked. "My mother was Margaret Rose. I'm Margaret Rose. I go by Diane, but that name, it's who I am." She turned away a moment, composing herself. "Ryan's sister always said she'd name her daughter Margaret Rose someday, but she's not even married. The tradition might die with me." We stood in silence between aisles of cereal and canned soup, while something electric settled in my chest. Margaret Rose. It was everything Jenna hated, everything she refused, everything she stole from her own daughter. And the more I thought about it, the more I loved it. Classic, timeless, regal. The kind of name that carried weight, the kind that mattered. And it wasn't taken, not by her, not yet. That night, I told Dean. "You're not thinking what I think you're thinking," he said. I smiled faintly. "Margaret Rose is a beautiful name." "It's not about Jenna?" he asked. "No," I said. "It's about us. Our daughter deserves a name with meaning, with roots, and maybe it wouldn't hurt if certain people finally understood what it feels like to have something taken." I wasn't angry. Not anymore. But I was awake. The name didn't feel like revenge anymore. It felt like justice, for me, for Diane, for the tradition that Jenna tossed aside like it meant nothing. It felt like destiny. And unlike Jenna, I wasn't planning to steal the name. I was going to honor it. I didn't announce the name until the day she was born. No maternity photo shoot, no nursery reveal, no baby registry with monogrammed initials. Just real life. Quiet. Sacred. Ours. When they placed her in my arms, pink, wrinkled, and furious about being born, I looked down at the tiny fists, still clenched like she was ready to fight the world. And I said it out loud. Margaret Rose. My voice cracked. I didn't think love could sound like that. We called her Maggie. Dean whispered, "Welcome home," and kissed her forehead. Our daughter had arrived, and with her, a name older than any of our problems. The first photo I posted was simple. Margaret Rose born healthy and loved. No tags, no fanfare, no drama. And yet, in under an hour, the first ripple hit. Jenna called 15 times. I didn't pick up. Then came the text. "Are you kidding me? You know what that name means in Ryan's family. You're not even related to them. This is some kind of sick joke, call me." And then, finally, "Please, I don't understand. Just call me." I typed slowly. "Congratulations on your daughter Celeste. I'm sure you understand that Dean and I just fell in love with Margaret Rose. You're right, though, names can't be claimed. Thanks for teaching me that." I hit send, then placed my phone face down. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt with her in a long time. Peace. The real fallout didn't come from Jenna. It came from her mother-in-law. And it came in silk-lined boxes. 2 weeks later, a package arrived. Inside was a silver rattle antique, engraved polished so perfectly it almost seemed new. Beside it lay a handwritten letter from Diane. "My dear Margaret Rose, welcome to the family. Love, your honorary grandmother, Margaret Rose Sr." I cried. Not because of what Jenna would think, but because someone else saw Maggie's name the way I saw it. Not stolen, not weaponized, not pitied, cherished. Then another package came. A christening gown, over 100 years old, stitched by hand. Then photos of Ryan's grandmother holding Maggie at a family dinner I'd been invited to. Diane posted a photo with Maggie and captioned it, "The newest Margaret Rose, carrying on a tradition I thought would end with me." Jenna was in the background of the photo, unsmiling, off-center, holding Celeste, who was wearing a glitter onesie that said, "Wild Child." The contrast was brutal. And then came the last straw. On Maggie's first birthday, we got a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a trust fund certificate, the kind that comes with legal stamps and embossed paper and a number with 6 digits. Diane had kept her promise, the promise she once made to Jenna, and Jenna rejected. Another generation, another Margaret Rose, would go to college debt-free. Dean held the letter quietly while I read it again. He finally whispered, "She gave your daughter what she offered theirs. You didn't steal it." "No, I didn't steal anything. I gave it a home. I didn't expect Jenna to show up, but she did. On Maggie's first birthday, after most of the guests had left, she stepped into the backyard like she was walking into enemy territory. Maggie was asleep inside. Balloons drifted lazily over a half-eaten cake. She stood there with her arms folded, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I loved that name first," she said. "I know," I said softly. "But you didn't love it the way I did." Her jaw clenched. "You ruined everything," she whispered. I shook my head. "I just stopped letting you ruin me." She left without saying goodbye. And just like that, a 10-year friendship ended. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to bury a friendship to save yourself. Sometimes holding on to something someone else threw away is the most powerful thing you can do. And sometimes, a name isn't just a name, it's a legacy. It's a choice. It's a line in the sand. Years passed. Maggie grew up with laughter in her bones and dignity in her blood. She wasn't spoiled, but she was secure, loved, confident. She called Diane Grandma, and Diane wore that title like armor. Every holiday, there was a new family story, an old handwritten recipe, another ritual passed down like pearls. Tradition didn't care about DNA. It cared about who showed up. And Maggie always did. Celeste was different. I saw her only online, fragments of her life captured through screens. Bright, sharp, restless. The kind of girl who looked like she was always close to breaking through something, or breaking down. I didn't see Jenna much, but when I did, her smile always had an edge, even when she tried to hide it. And deep down, a part of me still wondered, did she regret it? Not choosing the name, not choosing her daughter's place in that family, choosing pride over legacy. Then one evening, when Maggie was almost 10, I found an envelope in our mailbox. Thin, white, handwritten in blue ink. The return address stunned me. Celeste Hartman. My breath caught. I walked inside and sat at the kitchen table. My hands shook as I opened the letter. It wasn't angry, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't even long, it was honest. Dear Mrs. Carter, I don't know if this is weird, but I found out a few things recently. Mom never told me the truth about the name, about how it was supposed to be yours. I saw old messages between you two. She took it. To win. I know that now. I want you to know I don't blame you, and I don't blame Maggie. I don't want what she has. I just want what I lost. A chance. A place. I wish I had a family like that. I'd love to meet her one day, if that's okay. No drama, no parents. Just curiosity, I guess. I hope you'll think about it. Celeste. I read her letter 3 times. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I did. She wasn't asking for my forgiveness. She wasn't asking for money or legacy. She was asking for connection, for a chance to meet the girl who inherited the identity she never even knew was supposed to be hers, and I knew exactly what I had to do. The next week, I sat Maggie down. She was smart enough to know I was nervous. "Is it bad news?" she asked. "No," I said. "Just complicated." I explained the name, the history, the fight she was never alive to witness. I showed her the letter. She read it quietly, lips pressed together, like she was holding the whole world behind them. Then she asked one question. "Is she nice?" "I think she's just lost." Maggie nodded. "Then we should help her." We met at a local botanical garden. Neutral ground. Beautiful, quiet, safe. Maggie wore a light yellow dress. Celeste wore a black hoodie over jeans. They looked like 2 kids from different worlds. But when they saw each other, they both froze. Then smiled. The same awkward, honest smile. They sat on a bench while Dean and I hung back. We didn't hover. We just existed close enough to see them laugh. It wasn't instant magic. It wasn't fate. It was curiosity. Then recognition. Then something like respect. I saw Maggie's hand brush against Celeste's, and for the first time in her life, Celeste didn't look like she was standing on the edge of something sharp. She looked like she found ground sturdy enough to stop running. Months passed, and they met again. And again. They texted, shared music, made bracelets, complained about homework. They weren't sisters. They weren't obligated. They chose each other anyway. And that choice, that simple, quiet choice, healed things I didn't even know were still broken. Years later, when they graduated high school together, Maggie spoke at the ceremony. She looked stunning, confident, radiant, unshakable. She took the stage and said, "People think family is something you're born into, but sometimes family is something you reclaim." She looked down at us, then at Celeste. "And sometimes a name doesn't define who you are, but who you get to become." And now, years later still, this story isn't a battle anymore. It's a reminder that the things people try to steal from you can still become the things you build with, that the things meant to hurt you can become the things that heal someone else, and that the name Margaret Rose wasn't just a legacy, it was a bridge. Thank you for listening to this story. If you'd like more like it, don't forget to subscribe to TaleHub, and thank you truly for watching. Happy endings aren't always perfect, but they're always possible.